Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Frankenweenie. Victor, who is a little boy who loves science and doesn't really have a lot of friends except for his dog and best friend Sparky, until one day Sparky is hit by a car, and of course Sparky dies. So then Victor finds out from his science teacher that there's still circuitry left in dead bodies, human bodies and animal bodies, that if you put enough electrical charge will come back to life. And so he digs up Sparky and brings him back to life with lightning a la Frankenstein. Soon word gets out that he did this among the various kids in his grade, and since there is a science fair coming up and the prize is a huge trophy and everyone wants to win it because people like trophies, I guess, then other kids want to bring back their dead animals and do other experiments so that they can win the science fair as well. I grew up in the 90s, I was a kid in the 90s, and Tim Burton was really cool in the 90s. And I think he had a pretty good run from Pee-wee's Big Adventure up until Sleepy Hollow. I think he was pretty solid all throughout. He was probably one of the first kind of a couple directors I really got into. He's not an amazing director, but he was a really cool, very stylized Hollywood director. And to me, seeing Frankenweenie reminded me of why I like Tim Burton, and why I even got into Tim Burton, and why I wanted to watch Edward Scissorhands and Ed Wood a million times, and watch, Batman and Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice, and why I kept like rewatching them and re-renting them, and if I own them, just watch them to death. It's not really as good as all of those movies, but it definitely reminds me of those movies, and it's kind of nice to see the Tim Burton I actually like come back. I think, when you look at something like Dark Shadows, that's Tim Burton, who's had a lot of success recently with crap like Alice in Wonderland. I really dislike, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Alice in Wonderland. I reimagined Planet of the Apes Tim Burton. This is the first film he's made in black and white since Ed Wood. I liked that this was very movie referential. I also liked the design and how the stakes were relatively, even though, okay, it's a kid bringing his dog back to life, they're relatively believable because it's just these kids who really want to win a science fair. It reminds me of things like Regular Show. How Regular Show, it starts off, oh, we have to go stack up the chairs, and then in the end they're fighting a video game monster. How did we even get here? And there is a certain element of that mixed with, this is trying to remake Tim Burton's short film from the 80s, Frankenweenie, and I rewatched it before I saw this film, and I noticed he's trying to remake it, but also include this thing with all the kids finding out about how he had done this with Sparky and how they wanted to do it for their science fair. Because I guess they assumed he was going to submit it to the science fair, even though he never said that. He just wanted to bring back Sparky because he loves Sparky. But, the script really isn't the best. I found the narrative in the original short film to be a lot clearer. Sometimes they just wouldn't dwell on things long enough for them to really sink in. They just do a one line, they'd move on. This film moves very quickly. I understand it's an animated film and its main audience is for children, but you can maybe stay on some of these beats a little longer. There's just certain moments in this film where I feel like they could just explain it more, like say like, oh, my friend's brother won the science fair and the trophy's enormous and he got this prize, and instead they're like, hey, you get a trophy. And that's all we have to go on. I like the character designs. They're very Tim Burton-y. I like that Winona Ryder looked like her character from Beetlejuice. It was interesting seeing Sparky was the design from Family Dog, which actually Tim Burton helped design some of the stuff for the Family Dog show, and he was an executive producer or a producer on the Family Dog show. So he's not really stealing because he worked on it, so he's just referencing it, I guess. But it's cool because no one was really using Family Dog since 1993. I kind of think this movie should be Frankenweenie subtitled The Resurrection of Family Dog. And I like that it was in black and white, and it gave it kind of a spookier, kind of more old horror movie feel to it that that Hotel Transylvania and Paranorman didn't really get across very well. I loved Catherine O'Hara and Martin Short doing multiple voices. They're two great actors, and I love watching both of them. Really in anything, especially Catherine O'Hara. It's nice to see Tim Burton make a fucking movie without Helena Bonham Carter and Johnny Depp for once. One of the first times in a really long time that I've actually enjoyed something with the name Tim Burton attached to it. And that was fun. I like that. And I hope, even if this isn't as good as, his kind of peak of his creative powers, I still think this is the right direction for him. I like him being this spooky, gothic, weird, kind of kooky, very referential director that he once was. So if you have seen Frankenweenie and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments. and subscribe if you would like to. And I saw it in 3D. I didn't see the other two animated horror kids films in 3D. I thought the 3D was alright. It was interesting seeing a black and white movie in 3D, which I've never done before. So that was kind of unique for me, but I didn't really see much of a narrative reason. Although at the beginning they're watching his short film with Sparky, they're wearing 3D glasses, but they never established, like, if they have a 3D camera. They never really bring it up ever again. I guess that was just to get you, if you saw it in 2D, you feel like a chump because you didn't spend the money to see it in 3D, but even that sequence wasn't really, the 3D wasn't really that good. I thought there'd be a little more